What's going on YouTube? It's David and I'm back again with another video. Now, you probably saw the title. You probably noticed that this is a different type of video. This isn't the regular Madden 26 Brooklyn Notes Rebuild or Madden 26 video. By the way, I do have Brooklyn Notes episode 7 on the way. I just got done recording it, so I'm going to get it edited and then hopefully posted after you guys see this video. Back to this video. Obviously, it's a different kind of video. It's a video idea that I've been wanting to do on the channel. I just didn't know how to start, and I also didn't know if I wanted to do it when I finished the Brooklyn Notes season or if I should just start doing it right now, kind of, you know, open the channel up to some different kind of video ideas. So I decided to do it right now. So we're gonna do a tier list. This is gonna be, you know, my ranking of quarterbacks in the league, starting quarterbacks, and I'm not just gonna strictly like kind of keep the tier list on this channel. I'm gonna try to do it on the other channel as well. Maybe do like ranking different types of games that I've played, maybe different restaurants or things like that. We'll see. This video is just pretty much gonna be, you know, sports related stuff. So like, you know, position tier list, maybe just, you know, going by team stadiums, maybe teams overall going into the next season. So let me know if you guys want to see that. But I thought it'd be really fitting to start with this video, right? This kind of tier list, a very controversial tier list. So enough of me rambling. Let's get into the video. Okay, so as you can see right here on the screen, we have a tier list. So for the tiers that I have, it's best QB, top tiers QBs, consistent QBs, average QBs, highs and lows QBs, and then trash for the final tier. The way I'm going to kind of do this, there's only one quarterback that I really just know as, you know, the best, and we'll get into that when he comes up. But yeah, top tier is like, you know, you're interchangeable for, you know, when you think of top 10, obviously the best is going to be that one spot, right? When it comes to top tier, you can pretty much interchange these guys, in my opinion, based off of your personal preference, and you can kind of just put them anywhere. I think there's only like maybe 3 quarterbacks that are solidified as like the next 2, 3, and 4. And then the ones after that you can really interchange. But again, it's all based off of personal preference. This is how I rank QBs. Just giving you guys a hindsight before I start ranking them. I'm not including wins. I'm not including team achievements, anything like that. I'm just going off of the film, what I've seen. I'm also going off of situations. So maybe certain quarterbacks are in better situations than others. So that's also I'm kind of deteriorated, right? If I think a quarterback is in a bad situation right now, but he's very talented, and I think he would do well in another situation that another quarterback is in, then that's how I'll rank that. But without further ado, right? That's top tier. Consistent. Oh, my bad. I kind of just got off track right there. That's top tier. Consistent means that, you know, you're on the cusp of getting to that top tier level, but it's either I need to see more from you, or I've seen enough and I can't rank you any higher than that, right? Average, just meaning that you have your good games, you have your bad games, right? That tier is more so for QBs that really are at their peak kind of talent, right? Or maybe just QBs that are on the cusp of that, but from what I've seen, right, just off of, you know, film and what I've seen from them, it's been very you know, like I haven't been wowed by their performance. Highs and lows, just meaning that you're not trash, right? Like, you know, trash QBs just didn't really have high moments. Highs and lows QBs are really like trash QBs that have high moments from time to time. And have them more often than trash QBs, and the ones that I feel like have some potential, but it's gonna be really hard to dig them out of that hole. So, and then trash is just bad QBs. So, all right, now let's get into this tier list. Josh Allen, top tier. Don't need to say anything else. Multiple-time MVP, has been to the playoffs many times. He pretty much this year was the carrier of the Bills, right? They really would not have gone that far without him. I get it. He also had a part to play in them losing in that divisional game against the Broncos. But you pull up the stats. I mean, again, he's a multiple-time MVP. Has like statistically very good seasons. The only thing that people down him for is turnovers, which is understandable, but he's gotten better over the years for that. So yeah, Josh Allen is a top tier QB. Jacoby Brissett, I'm actually gonna put him in average. I honestly think he's not trash, and I honestly think that he's not in a tier where he's trash, but he has high moments from time to time. I honestly think Jacoby Brissett played fairly well given the situation that he was in, right? He had Marvin Harrison Jr., who was his like wide receiver 1. He had Trey McBride. Those two were really his like main targets throughout the season, but both of them dealt with health issues, right? I know Trey McBride missed some time in the season. I know Marvin Harrison for sure missed some time. He was on my fantasy team. Bastard. Anyways, yeah. So I mean, he's the main reason why people know about Michael Wilson right now. I mean, if he wasn't throwing Michael Wilson the ball, people would not know who Michael Wilson is. So, yeah, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is bad at all. Like, anytime you look at Jacoby Brissett when he's starting, especially later on in his career right now, he's on the older side. Even last year with the Browns, he didn't play that bad, dude. I mean, given what he was, looking at a situation and looking at what he was given, right? He's not given a good supporting cast, and he's still being able to, like, keep his team in some games, So, Jacoby Brissett is average, in my opinion. Joe Burrow, top tier. Can't argue with it. It's kind of hard to evaluate him now because, he's had a lot of health issues. But when he's on the field, as much as, I'm half of like a Joe Burrow hater. I think he's slightly overrated in my opinion. But when he is on the field, he's very talented. He makes throws. Again, a lot of these QBs can't. And overall, is just he's a good quarterback. So I gotta give props where props is due. Kirk Cousins, trash. There's nothing else to say. Do I think he played better this year compared to last year? Yes, but comparing it to last year, really couldn't get much worse. I can't put him in a tier above trash because I don't think he's better than any of the other QBs I would put in trash. And I also don't think he's as good as the other QBs I would put in this tier. So I'll put Kirk Cousins in trash. Jaden Daniels, I'll put him in consistent. I understand that he's only in year 2 and he was out for a little bit of, he missed some time this season due to injury. That's the main reason why I want to put him in consistent. People want to put him in this tier or in this tier, which I don't think is fair on either or. I think he just kind of has to meet in the middle right now. Last season he did really great. He put up a very good rookie season, right? One of the better rookie seasons we've seen in recent years. Not better than Justin Herbert's by far. But that's, besides the point. But yeah, I mean, when he's on the field, he's a good quarterback. He makes a lot of throws. He's able to, use his feet very well, right? He's kind of reflecting an early Lamar Jackson in a way. He's not the most gifted thrower, but he's definitely a threat with his legs. So, kind of have to see next season how he does. And then I can kind of, come to a conclusion if maybe he's here, or maybe he's here, or maybe if he just stays inconsistent and maybe that's his peak. I don't know. But for right now, I have to put Jaden Daniels inconsistent. Sam Darnold, consistent. A lot of people would put him higher, and honestly, I would too. But he was given a very, I don't want to say gifted scenario, but the thing with him last year was, okay, he was able to take he was able to, help the Vikings make the playoffs last year. Unfortunately, they did lose. And I believe the main talk about the Vikings that year was their defense. I think that's what it was. I could be mistaken. But that was the main thing as to why. That was a big question mark with Sam Darnold. Is he really that talented, or was he just carried by the Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson wide receiver duo, right? He's able to come back this year. He had JSN. It's pretty much his only weapon, you could say, on offense for the Seahawks. I mean, you had AJ Barner, you had Elijah or Arroyo. I might have butchered that. I'm sorry. You had Rashid Shaheed come in later in the season, but the main target was JSN, and he had a way better defense, and he won the Super Bowl. So, from what I've seen from Sam Darnold, he makes a lot of throws. He's not average. He's not in these tiers, but I don't think I can put him in top tier. I would have to see what he does next season, and then get back to you. But from what I've seen, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he makes a lot. He makes throws when he needs to. I mean, he when he needs to come in clutch, he can come in clutch. I just feel like the other QBs in these tiers could have the same success in that situation. So, and even then in the Super Bowl, it looked rough. It looked really rough in that Super Bowl, but that's besides the point. Jackson Dart, I'm actually going to put him in highs and lows. He's a rookie, so it's kind of hard to evaluate him. But he's not trash, but I don't think he's average. I think he's right here. He had a lot of high moments this season. But I also think once teams kind of figured out how to game plan around him, then it kind of limited his play a little bit. We'll have to see how he does next season, and then again, I can come to a conclusion. But I mean, he's definitely talented. He has a I don't want to say the arm strength, but he definitely has the arm to make a lot of throws. And he also, his mobility is actually underrated, I feel like, in my opinion. His legs, I mean, his mobility is very good. I've seen it in games, but again, once teams figured out how to kind of game plan around him and kind of limit how much he uses his legs or limit how much he can extend the play, it was kind of rough for him. So again, next season we'll see. I'll come to a conclusion on where I put him, but that's where I put him. Justin Fields, trash. Nothing else to say. You got bridge for Birdie Cook, my G. You're done. Joe Flacco, highs and lows, right? He actually performed a lot better than I thought he would. He actually did, honestly did pretty decent on the Browns, again, given what he was working with. And then also when he went to the Bengals, he did a lot better, right? You have Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins. Chase Burn had a down year, but he was still a weapon that you could use, and he was still keeping the Bengals in games. So, I mean, obviously he's not Joe Burrow, but I mean, the fact that he's able to keep them in games, and he's like almost in his 40s or in his 40s, speaks volumes. Dylan Gabriel, trash. Got benched for Shador. Took over after trading away Joe Flacco, and it didn't help the situation any better. So, again, I know he's in a bad situation, but even then, when I'm seeing him, Joe Flacco made it work with that casting crew. Gotta make it work, bro. You know what I'm saying? Jared Goff, consistent. He's a good quarterback. I just don't think he's better than these two right here. Actually, I'll do it like this. I don't think he's better than these two, and I definitely don't think he's better than the QBs I'll put in this tier. Is he a consistent quarterback, though? Yes. He'll make throws when you need him to. He'll get the job done. He'll put you in a position to win games for sure. The only thing that I take away from Jared Goff is that he's on one of the best supporting casts, I feel like, in the league. He had a top... He had the best running back duo in the league. I don't know if you guys heard, but the Lions did trade David Montgomery, I believe it was a day ago or two. So, yeah, it's just Jahmyr Gibbs. But even then, Jahmyr Gibbs is still an elite running back, top 3 in my opinion. St. Brown, top 5 wide receiver. Jameson Williams, he's a good wide receiver too. Sam Laporta, one of the better tight ends in the league. He has a very good offensive line. He's on a good supporting cast. You know what I'm saying? So I think, again, any quarterback could succeed in that situation. I think Sam Darnold could probably do better than Jared Goff in this scenario. So he's a consistent quarterback, though. I'm not going to take away anything. Justin Herbert. You guys are getting bad. Top tier. And I'll put him above Burrow. Top tier. Put him in any other situation. This guy can get you wins. It is a fact. This guy can put you in a spot to win. People say, oh, he's not clutch. Look at the Raiders game. Look at the Raiders game in 2022. They had a prime chance to win that game. The person that lost them that game was Brandon Staley. The Jags game. There was not much he could do. You're running inside zone into 7-man boxes, 8-man boxes in the second half, constantly punting the ball and giving the Jags more opportunities to score on offense. Eventually, they're going to start catching on and scoring. Put him in a situation like Sam Darnold. Put him in a situation like Jared Goff. He's going to win games. He could have a Super Bowl right now. Enough said. The guy's talented. Turn on the film. He's making throws. I've seen neither of these QBs make. Maybe Josh. Josh can probably make those throws. I haven't seen Joe Burrow make like a lot of the throws that Justin Herbert has made, bro. I haven't. Homie was getting sacked and still threw a dot to put his team in red zone. Turn on the film, bro. Turn on the film. The hate that this guy gets is insane to me. It is insane. If he's in a better situation, man, people are not talking the way they are about this dude, bro. Put some respect on my guy's name, bro. All right, that's enough of me ranting. Bryce Young. I'll put him in the top of average, and here's why. Obviously, I don't think a lot of people were high on Bryce Young going into the season and throughout the season. Obviously, he was more someone like on this tier. He was, for the most part, playing bad, but he also had his very high moments in the beginning of the season. In the last half of the season, he was actually playing really good football. He was actually staying really consistent. Once him and, Tim McMillan started developing that kind of chemistry, and that offense started getting really hot, right? Especially with the run game that you have with Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. That offense looked scary, dude. I get it. They lost against the Bucs in their final game and still somehow made the playoffs. It's whatever, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's like, there's not much you can do to control that. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, not a lot of people were high on him in that playoff game against the Rams, and he actually very much surprised me, Like before that game, I would have put him in like the bottom part of average, maybe high part of highs and lows, but from the way he played in that game against the Rams, dude, he was making throws. He was throwing that ball, he was using his legs, he was extending the play. He kept the Panthers in a prime position to win the game. Obviously, it crumbled in the end, right? I'm pretty sure most of us saw it, and not all of it is entirely on him. Were there some plays that I know he would like to have back? Yes. But I mean, for the most part, he didn't play bad. I can confidently say this going into next season, him and the Panthers are going to be my sleeper team in the NFC next season. I feel like if they make the right moves in free agency and in the draft, they can go really far. So the Panthers are my sleeper team next season. Bryce Young is going to go in the top part of average, right? If he plays good next season, if he plays like that, he could probably be in this tier, right? If he really makes a step up, then he can be here, So that's where I'm going to put Bryce Young for right now. Jalen Hurts, average. Again, he's in a very good supporting cast. Does he have good games? Yes, but there have been so many times where they won games and he only had like 100 passing yards. Take away the tush push, you take away half of the talent that the Eagles have, I don't think they succeed that much. So, enough said, bro. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Like, I wouldn't put him here, but I also, I don't think I would take these two quarterbacks and then, all these quarterbacks above him right now. So, that's that. Lamar Jackson, top tier. And I would order it like that. Well, no. That's how I would order it. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson's top tier. Multiple time MVP. Statistical, like the stats speak for themselves. And then if you don't want to look at the stats, just turn on the film. He's a playmaker. He's an elite quarterback. Enough said. Top tier. Daniel Jones. I'm actually going to put him in average. I would definitely take him over Jacoby, and I would take him over Jalen. I don't think I would take him over Bryce. But from how he was playing in the beginning of the season before he got hurt, he was actually doing really well. The Colts had they had a prime chance to not only make the playoffs, but probably win the division. If he doesn't go down, they can probably do that. Unfortunately, he went down. They tried a lot of different things with Phillip Rivers, and I don't know. I think they brought in another QB. I forgot who it was. I think it was Riley Leonard. Later on in the season, but yeah, neither of those QBs had the same impact that he did. So, I just don't think he's on the same level as these QBs, though. So, I mean, if he could perform the same next season, I know, him and the Colts are kind of on weird negotiation terms and whatnot, but if he's able to perform like that next season, right? And again, it's all situational, but if he's put in a good situation and is able to perform like that again, then he could probably go here, or maybe like top half of here, but it really just depends on what situation he gets put in next year. So Mac Jones, average? I mean, from what I saw, it wasn't bad, but again, I don't think he's on the level of these QBs. I would take him. I think him and Jalen are interchangeable. But I think I would take, Jalen above Mac Jones just because of the mobility. Jalen has very good mobility. Yeah, I mean, with what Mac Jones was working with, he was still keeping them in games. They still made the playoffs somehow with Mac Jones at quarterback and all the injuries that they were dealing with. So, actually, I'll cut him some slack. I'll put him right here. There you go. There you go, Niners fans. Mac Jones. Trevor Lawrence, consistent, and I would order it like that. I would take Trevor Lawrence over Sam Darnold. I would take him over Jaden Daniels, and I would take him over Jared Goff. Trevor Lawrence surprised me this season. He didn't have a true wide receiver one, and he still kept the Jags in games to win. A lot of that was brought on by their defense for sure. But there were also times where the defense was underperforming, and he needed to come in and put them in a spot to win, and he did. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence is going to consistent. He's not top tier yet. I would take all the QBs in top tier over him, and yeah, but I would he's on that cusp of getting into the top tier, so that's that. Jordan Love, top tier. Jordan Love, I feel like, is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the league. People like to slack on Jordan Love just because he has bad games from time to time, and he does. I won't lie, he does. But from what I saw in that playoff game, it wasn't his fault that they lost. It was not his fault. He did all he could. He put him in a prime position to win the game at halftime. Right, they were up. I think it was like 27-3 or something at halftime. It was just poor play calling on offense that really led to that disaster, and what really led to the Packers ultimately losing. Jordan Love didn't turn the ball over at all in that game, and I mean, he did all he could. It's just when you're running inside zone with Josh Jacobs, for the first two plays for first and second down, and then you want to run like some sort of like screen with Matthew Golden or Jaden Reed, it's they're gonna catch on to it. Like, they ran a screen with their offensive linemen on their own 10-yard line. So it's like, when you have that kind of, when you have those kind of plays being called for you, there's not much you can do to win the game, But yeah, Jordan Love, you fit him with a very good offensive play caller, the Packers can go so far. So Jordan Love goes in top tier for me. I would definitely take him over T-Law and then these, rest of these QBs right here. So Mahomes, best, no question. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I know he had a down year last year, and he also got hurt. I know that. And as a Chargers fan, I really want to hate on him. I really do. A part of me really wants to do it, but I can't. I've been a fan of the Chargers all my life. I've had to play them twice a year, or not I physically, but my team has had to play them twice a year ever since they got into the league. he's always been a problem. No matter what kind of supporting cast he had, no matter what kind of team he had, he always found some way to, to succeed. He's a multiple-time MVP. I think he has 1 or 2 Super Bowl MVPs if I'm not mistaken. He has multiple Super Bowls. Can't hate on the guy, you probably could, right? But me, I can't hate on him. As a football fan, I gotta give respect where respect is due, right? A part of me hates Tom Brady, because if it wasn't for him, the Chargers could probably have a Super Bowl right now, But I also give respect to Tom Brady, because, it's hard to do what Tom Brady did as well. So, yeah, Mahomes is the best quarterback. Drake May. Fuck. I'll put him in the top of consistent. Here's why I can't put him in top tier. He had a very easy schedule. Very easy schedule going into the playoffs. I get it. He played, the main argument is, oh, he played top 5 defenses throughout the playoffs and he still made the Super Bowl. Da-da-da-da. The Patriots also didn't play a top 5 offense, throughout the playoffs. Like, the Seahawks were like the best offense that they had to play, But if you look at the Chargers, you look at the Texans, you look at the Broncos without Bo Nix, the Chargers, they didn't have a good offense this year. It was all defense, The main reason why they got there offensively was because of that guy, right? But it was mainly the defense for the Chargers. And Drake May struggled in that game too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna, the stats can say otherwise, but if you look at the film from that game, neither quarterback played good. Neither of them played good. Just Drake May had a couple more, a couple better throws than Justin Herbert. That ultimately had them win the game. So it was enough said right there. The Texans, CJ Stroud at quarterback, 5 turnovers. I'm expecting you to win that game. You know what I'm saying? Backup quarterback against, one of the better powerhouses in the league. I get it. They still had a top 10 offense without Bo Nix, and I still feel like Jared Stidham didn't play that bad, given what he was put into, and they still barely won the game. But, all that aside, right, if I can see the same performance or the same talent next year against a harder schedule, then you can go here. For right now, best you're getting is that, so. Baker Mayfield, consistent. I'll put him right here between T-Law and Darnold. I've always been high on Baker, especially when he got to Tampa. He really surprised me because I thought it was over after he left Cleveland and then started bouncing around. But he's definitely shown a lot of improvement since then. Since getting to Tampa Bay, I think he's had like 2 or 3 offensive coordinators, if I'm not mistaken, with Tampa Bay, and he's still been able to perform either way with those offensive coordinators. This year was kind of rough because obviously he missed Chris Godwin for a lot of the season. Then he missed Mike Evans for the last half of it. So then you have like Buka and then Tez Johnson, 2 rookies taking over the wide receiver 1 and 2 spots. It's hard to work with that. Plus, Bucky Irving didn't have a good season either. It was just all around an underwhelming season for the Bucks. But I'm not gonna take that away from Baker Mayfield as far as his talent. The dude can play ball, right? It was just an unfortunate situation this year. I still feel like he can play a lot of good football. I just would take all of these other quarterbacks over Baker Mayfield personally. But that's just me though. JJ McCarthy, 9, trash. Homie's bad. Simple as that. Kyler Murray. Highs and lows? It's hard because he barely played this season. But from what I've seen in other seasons, it's pretty much the high of this. A lot of low moments and a lot of high moments. More often low moments, for sure. Bo Nix, average. Any other QB in that situation, they're making it all the way. Take away half the talent. He's pretty much the AFC version of Jalen Hurts. Take away half of the talent and he's not succeeding that much, Bo Nix accomplished more than Justin Herbert. It's a team fucking accomplishment, okay? Stop that shit. It's a team accomplishment. Wins are a team accomplishment. If he had Justin Herbert's offensive line, he would not have won that many games. I promise you that. Moving on. Michael Penix, highs and lows. He's not trash. But he's also not average. He's kind of here. We'll see how the Falcons do next season. But from what I've seen, it's, again, a lot of low moments, but he also has a lot of high moments. You know, it's very inconsistent with Michael Penix. So do with that as you will. Spencer Rattler, I think that's Spencer Rattler, yeah. I would put him in highs and lows. I don't think he was bad. I watched a few Saints games, especially in the beginning of the season. I don't think he was doing bad. I mean, again, he's on the Saints, you know, not the best supporting cast. He still kept it somewhat close against the Bills, which is very impressive to me. I know the Bills didn't have much of a defense, but the Saints don't have much of an offense. You know what I'm saying? So he was still able to keep them in games. The only reason he got benched, I think, was just because the fans were on Kellen Moore's and the whole management's ass about maybe wanting to change the scenery at QB. And Tyler Show, who's coming up in a little bit, I don't think he did that bad either. I can't call Spencer Rattler trash. I just can't, dude. He actually performed a lot better than I expected. So we'll do with that as you will. Dak Prescott. Top tier. I'd put him here. Yeah, you could put him there. I would take him over all these other QBs. Evaluating Dak is rough, right? Because I don't think he's had a particularly bad supporting cast in his entire career, right? In the beginning of his career, I think he had Dez for a couple seasons, and then around that time period is when they got Amari Cooper, and then they also had Michael Gallup and Cole Beasley, right? Which was a very solid receiving core. Amari Cooper was, obviously holding that workload a lot. And then after they got rid of Amari Cooper, and then that's when they got CeeDee Lamb, and then they still had Michael Gallup. I think they had a wide receiver 3. I forgot his name. But now it's CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, you know. So I don't think he's had a particularly bad supporting cast, so it's kind of hard to evaluate him based off of like him, how he's able to perform with the bad supporting cast. But he still performs very well in the regular season. So I'm not going to take that away from him. You know what I mean? I still feel like maybe if you take away George Pickens and just leave him CeeDee Lamb, he can still perform very well. So that's just my take on it, personally. I don't think Dak is a bad quarterback. I would definitely take all these, I'll take him over all these quarterbacks any day of the week. Yeah, Dak is one of those weird ones. I would call him top tier, though, for sure. Brock Purdy, high of average, I guess. I mean, he's on a good supporting cast, and from what I've seen, I mean, he's talented for sure. I just think all these other quarterbacks are more talented than him, in my opinion. I mean, he can be on the cusp of consistent. It's just, again, it's one of those situations where it's rough to evaluate him. Actually, I'll give him... Nah, I'll leave him in average. I can't put him on the same tier as Baker, T-Law, or Drake May, or Jaden. I can't put him on the same tier as any of these guys, bro. But he's high on average for sure. He's average, but he's on like an above average kind of level. I just can't put him on that tier. Rodgers. Average, I guess. I'll put him in the top half of highs and lows. I mean, it was... Oh my god, dude. It's rough. I'll keep Rodgers there for right now. I didn't watch a lot of Steelers games. Just as a disclaimer, I don't watch every single NFL game, right? I just don't have that accessibility. So I haven't seen every single NFL game, so I could be being too harsh or too light on these QBs. This is just based off of what I've seen personally. When it came to Rodgers, it was a lot of low. Fuck. I'll keep him there. It was a lot of lows for Aaron Rodgers, but the highs were a lot higher than these other QBs. Like the peak was a lot. The ceiling was a lot higher than these other QBs, right? He can still play ball somewhat at the age of 40. So do with that as you will. Shador, trash. Put him in like that part of trash. He's on the Browns, and I get that, but you can't have that big of an ego and then put up those kind of stats and still think you're on like an elite kind of level, bro. You just can't do that. So yeah, that's my take on it. Tyler Show, highs and lows, but I would take him over Spencer Rattler. I'll actually take him over a lot of these other QBs. There we go. I think you performed very well with that Saints supporting cast. I mean, again, the Saints supporting cast isn't anything to, it's not something to, easy to deal with. And I think with these two QBs, they made it work. I don't really think the Saints have a high future, just because of how much cap issues they're dealing with and how much, they don't really have a lot of young talent on that roster. So yeah, it's gonna look rough for the Saints for a bit, but the thing that they can know for sure is they still have a very decent QB that has a very high ceiling and a lot of potential that can develop, right? It's just what they have to it's just what they can put around him is what's gonna be the overall difference maker. So Malik Willis, I'll actually put him in the bottom part of average. When Jordan Love got hurt, he actually performed very well with that supporting cast. I guess you can make the argument that, if Malik Willis can perform with that supporting cast, then, who's to say that any other QB can perform with that supporting cast on the Packers? And that's a valid argument, but, I mean, I just don't think the other QBs can, I don't think other QBs can really make that Packers supporting cast work other than these two. It's just a talent. It's just a talent thing. You know what I'm saying? I think that these QBs can for sure make it in that supporting cast. I don't think these QBs can, though. These QBs will probably have a hard time doing that. You put Malik Willis in a better situation, though. He's for sure going to show you he's a top tier QB. He deserves a starting spot nonetheless. So that's my take on it. Geno Smith, trash. Bottom part of trash. Bro sucks. In a discussion. Matthew Stafford, top tier. MVP. There's nothing else that you can say. He's an MVP. He statistically had one of the best seasons of his career, right? And again, he had probably one of the better seasons from a QB this year. I still think talent-wise that maybe, you can put Herbert above him. And then obviously these two are above him talent-wise. But Matthew Stafford still can play elite football at his old age, for sure. I really hope he doesn't retire, because I would love to see him get another Super Bowl before he does. I've always been high on Stafford since I started, really getting into football. Just because, dude, he's always been talented, his talent is just not being shown because he's on a winning team, People like to downplay him when he was on the Rams because the Lions weren't winning, or when he was on the Lions because the Lions weren't winning, But I mean, you give him a good supporting cast, he's able to perform very well. You know what I'm saying? So I think overall the Rams and Matthew Stafford won that trade. The Lions and Jared Goff, yes, they have a lot of talent, but one team won the Super Bowl, the other team didn't. You know what I'm saying? So CJ Stroud, highs and lows? Yeah, highs and lows. I think if Rodgers or Malik Willis or even Jalen Hurts were on that Texans team in that playoff game, they would have put the Texans in a better position to win that game, for sure. They probably could win the game if they had Malik Willis or Jalen Hurts. You know what I'm saying? CJ Stroud, that dude needs to get out of his head, bro, and he needs to put that ego down and just, overall just look at himself and say, you know what, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, and I just need to get better, CJ Stroud is taking a big step down, in my opinion. 5 turnovers in a playoff game? Come on, dog. Come on, bro. Come on, dog. You can't perform like that, bro, and expect to win the game. The only reason why the Texans were even in that spot to begin with is because of their defense. Their defense was the one scoring touchdowns against the Steelers in that wildcard game, and that's why they won. The offense wasn't doing anything in that wildcard game, So, that's that. Tua, trash. I put him here, but he's still overall trash, bro. That dude needs to really, again, it is a change of scenery thing for him. If he can get a change of scenery and perform good, then he can go back up. If he can't, then he's staying there. But Cam Ward, I actually think he was very average. You know, again, it's a situational thing. He was on the Titans. Titans don't have a good supporting cast, but he was still making plays. You know, he had a washed Calvin Ridley as his wide receiver one, who also did miss some time. And then he had Alec Ayomanor, and then you know, a couple other receivers he had to deal with. He had a Chiggy at tight end, who he's not a bad tight end, but you know, it seems though that your main target's gonna be the tight end, and you don't have a lot of other, you know, better targets to kind of work with. You know, it's kind of easy to game plan around that, and he was still making throws. So I think Cam Ward has a lot of potential. The Titans just have to put talent around him. I think they'll do really well with Robert Saleh as their head coach. I didn't think Robert Saleh did bad with the Jets. Again, it was just, he was coaching the Jets. You know what I'm saying? Now he has somewhat better talent than he did on the Jets. So hopefully he can turn it around. And, you know, again, if Cam Ward is able to get a better supporting cast and perform, then he can go right here. But I'll put Cam Ward on average for right now. And then the last starting QB is going to be Caleb Williams. I'll put him in consistent. I would take him over these two, but I think I would take these four over Caleb Williams. Actually, for these two, it's interchangeable. But I would definitely take all these other QBs above Caleb Williams. He didn't do bad this season. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he did, but I mean, in those playoff games as well, against the Packers, against the Rams, even all season, he had his moments where he just wasn't good, bro. You know. Did he put the Bears in positions to win those games? Still, yes, but I mean, dude, like, if you want to be a consistent, like on the better cusp of consistent or top tier quarterbacks, you just gotta limit those, bro. You know, you gotta limit the play, you gotta limit the mistakes, and then you know you can go on a higher tier for me. But looking at the tier list, I don't think there's any other starting QB that I missed. Again, I know there's some backups I did play that you know, I should evaluate, but again, I didn't watch every single game, so I didn't get to see how Tyrod Taylor, I didn't get to see how Brady Cook, I barely got to see how Jake Browning did. So yeah, I mean, this is my tier list of QBs at the end of this season going into next season. Let me know your guys' thoughts, what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Again, we're gonna kind of keep this, you know, I'm going to post a couple more tier lists and then see how you guys like it. And then, you know, from then on, I'll kind of make up my mind if I want to continue this or not. Anyways, my ladies and gents, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, share, comment, and more importantly, subscribe. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments or any kind of video ideas that you would like for me to do. See if I can do it, either on this channel or the next channel. And, yeah, that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoy. See you guys later. Peace out.